From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radyo Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media, or Voice of America, on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. I'm your host, Jerome Toledo, and this is Dateline Malacañang in Review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. underscored the need for clear rules and shared responsibility between government and the private sector as he led the turnover of the Caliraya, Botocan, Kalayaan, CBK hydroelectric power plants to a private consortium on Monday. The president said strong public-private partnerships are essential to keeping vital services like electricity reliable, affordable, and responsive to the public. President Marcos Jr. emphasized that collaboration must always protect public interests while upholding transparency and accountability. The president said the system is crucial to maintaining grid stability as the country expands its renewable energy use. President Marcos Jr. noted that the privatization raised more than 36.27 billion pesos for the government, funds that can be redirected to classrooms, roads, hospitals, and other basic services. The chief executive added that strategic collaboration between government and industry turns infrastructure investments into dependable services that people can rely on every day.
With this privatization completed through the successful bid of over 36.27 billion pesos, the government is able to unlock significant resources while ensuring the continued operation of a strategically important energy asset. In doing so, the government can invest where it matters most, in our people. Particularly, these resources can be directed towards the immediate needs of the public, such as for classrooms, for roads, and for hospitals. And as we continue to diversify our energy sources, facilities like CBK help support renewable energy integration into the grid. During off-peak hours, excess power is used to pump water to an upper reservoir. When the demand is high, the water is released to generate electricity, allowing cleaner energy to work reliable at scale. Together, they form a system designed not just to generate power, but to balance the supply and demand across the entire power system. This is made possible through the Kalayaan Pump Storage Facility, which supports grid stability. This is why we in government continue to strengthen the systems in our energy sector by improving policies, processes, and partnerships to ensure that energy reliability and affordability are sustained in the long term. Building on the strength of both the public and private sectors, we encourage collaborations that safeguard the public interest while promoting transparency and accountability.
Was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. framed the 80th anniversary of Philippine-U.S. diplomatic ties as an opportunity to reaffirm and broaden a partnership he called essential to both national and regional security. At the palace launch of the official anniversary logo, the president pointed to 8 decades of cooperation spanning defense, maritime security, law enforcement, trade, investment, agriculture, energy, transport, labor, health, education, disaster response, tourism, and culture. He said the breadth of that cooperation reflects sustained commitment from both sides. President Marcos Jr. noted that the alliance is now moving into newer strategic arenas, including cybersecurity and outer space, supported by continued high-level engagement such as his recent meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. The chief executive said that exchange renewed momentum for deeper coordination and reinforced the foundations of the alliance. President Marcos Jr. also recognized the U.S.-Philippine Society and Philippine Ambassador to Washington Jose Manuel Romualdez for their roles in strengthening ties, calling Romualdez instrumental in nurturing the relationship.
Any enduring relationship requires commitment and sustained effort, and we have certainly done the needed work. Today, that cooperation is broad and it is comprehensive in the areas of defense, maritime security, law enforcement, trade, investment, agriculture, energy, transport, labor, health, education, disaster response, tourism, and culture, addressing domestic, regional, and international challenges. And I am sure because of the depth and breadth of our relationship, I still have missed some sectors. More importantly, we seize opportunities through bilateral, multilateral, and multilateral channels, while expanding our partnership into new frontiers such as cyber and outer space. This anniversary logo was developed to capture and symbolize the 8 decades of this enduring friendship. Last year, I had the privilege and honor of being the first and the only leader, as far as we know, from an ASEAN country so far to be invited to the White House by U.S. President Donald Trump during his second term. Our positive initial engagement provided renewed momentum for sustained high-level exchanges, and more importantly, it reaffirmed the foundational groundwork that continues to strengthen our alliance. We would also like to take this opportunity to show our appreciation and gratitude to our Philippine ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Babe Romualdez, who happens to be the third Romualdez to be ambassador of the Philippines to the United States. For 8 years now, nearly 1/10 of our diplomatic history, he has served as the face of the Philippines in the United States. If there is anyone who can be credited with nurturing and strengthening our ties in recent years, it is Ambassador Babe. Thank you, Babe, for your work.
And that was Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Monday announced that Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will travel to New York from March 8 to 11 for a working visit focused on high-level engagements at the United Nations. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the president will attend the opening of the 70th session of the UN Commission on the Status of Women, the organization's primary body for advancing gender equality and women's empowerment. President Marcos is also set to deliver remarks before a special session of the UN General Assembly highlighting the Philippines' commitment to multilateral cooperation. Castro said the chief executive will meet with UN officials during the trip to reinforce partnerships on global and development issues. The Philippines was re-elected in 2024 to the UNCSW for the 2025 to 2029 term following its successful chairship of the Commission's 68th session.
Pangungunahan ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ang isang working visit sa New York, USA sa darating na March 8 to 11. Dadalo si Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa opening ng 70th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Magbibigay din ang Pangulo ng mensahe sa gaganaping special session ng General Assembly ng United Nations. Makikipagpulong din ang Pangulo sa ilang opisyal ng UN.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has expressed optimism over the passage of the proposed Independent People's Commission or IPC Act by June this year. The proposed creation of an IPC was among the 21 priority measures approved by President Marcos Jr. during the 3rd Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council or LEDAC meeting at Malacañang Palace in Manila on Tuesday. The IPC bill seeks to enhance public transparency and accountability amid the Marcos administration's intensified crackdown on government and financial irregularities. Asked about the possible implication of the IPC's creation on the fate of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro said the future of the existing fact-finding body remains unknown pending the review of its investigation findings on anomalous flood control projects.
Yes, yun ang napag-usapan at pipilitin na maipasa lahat itong 21 priority bills bago matapos ang June itong taon. Ngayon po ay hindi pa po natin alam kung ano mangyari sa ICI dahil kabibigay lamang po nila ng kanilang report at ngayon po yun ay inaaral. Kung magkakaroon po ng People's Independent Commission, tignan po natin kung ano mangyayari sa ICI. Dahil ang ICI naman po is an independent commission, a fact-finding commission na nakakatulong po sa ehekutibo para mas mapabilis po ang pag-iimbestiga ng Ombudsman at ng DOJ.
Castro earlier said President Marcos Jr. would let the ICI decide whether to continue its operations or conclude its mandate, adding that the president is willing to extend assistance if the independent body makes a request. ICI, created through Executive Order 94, issued by President Marcos Jr. in September 2025, is mandated to investigate anomalous infrastructure projects implemented in the past 10 years.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Tuesday, Malacañang said the proposed travel tax repeal is one of 21 priority legislative proposals that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. endorsed through the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council or LEDAC. Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro said the president placed a special emphasis on reducing the financial burden on passengers, emphasizing that many Filipinos travel not only for vacation but also for work and emergency purposes. She described how the tax is currently distributed, with 50% going to Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority or TIEZA tourism infrastructure projects, 40% going to educational support and scholarships, and 10% going to promote culture and history. Concerned that eliminating the tax or travel tax will diminish financing for education and tourism promotion, Castro stated that if the proposed bill is passed, the government will make up any funding gaps through the national budget. Castro said that economic managers reviewed the measure's potential benefits, particularly in lowering travel expenses, but that details on revenue impact will be addressed once the bill was properly prepared.
Ang travel tax po ay ginagamit unang-una po ang 50% ito ay sa mga TIEZA tourism projects, infrastructure projects. Ang 40% naman po ay educational assistance at scholarship sa CHED. At ang 10% naman po ay para sa pag-promote ng culture and heritage po natin. Ito po ay sa tulong po at pagtulong sa National Commission in Culture and the Arts po. Ito naman po ay sumasa ilalim din po sa COA examination. So, hindi lang po kinakailangan na orderan pa sila na magbigay ng kanilang report patungkol po dito dahil ang COA po ay tinitignan din po ang kanilang mga pagre-report. Opo, kapag ka po ito ay nagkaroon ng abolish na po lahat at hindi lang kumbaga deduction lang yung fee, ito naman po ay pupuntahan ng gobyerno, of course, sa pamamagitan po ng GAA.
That's Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday announced the allocation of about 9.6 billion pesos for the construction of 4,000 classrooms nationwide to address the shortage of learning spaces. President Marcos Jr. made the announcement during the signing of a Memorandum of Agreement or MOA between the Department of Education and local government units to formalize a partnership to accelerate classroom construction and address the backlog. During the signing ceremony at Malacañang Palace in Manila, the president said funding would be earmarked for the first phase of the nationwide classroom construction program, which will be implemented under the MOA. President Marcos noted that provincial governments will receive 4.1 billion pesos for the construction of an estimated 1,200 classrooms, while the DepEd will procure about 2,800 prefabricated classrooms valued at more than 5 billion pesos. The chief executive vowed to spend the remainder of his term prioritizing the education sector by addressing the classroom shortage of 145,000 units as of December 2025. President Marcos Jr. said the partnership between the DepEd and the LGUs is among the government's initiatives to fast-track the construction of new school buildings aimed at giving both teachers and learners a safer and more conducive environment. The president said the DepEd is also working on public-private partnerships.
I have seen many of the struggles that our students, our teachers, and our parents face. I have seen many of the struggles that our students, our teachers, and our parents face when having to send their children to school. They are studying and dreaming of a better future in poorly built facilities, cramped spaces, and sometimes no facilities at all. And this is the gap that we must address urgently. It is the reason why this administration has been finding all kinds of alternative ways that we can immediately close this yawning gap. Because we cannot wait another 5 or 10 years to ensure that every student has a comfortable classroom. So the first tranche of the nationwide classroom construction program, we have programmed 9.6 billion pesos for this new program. And of this fund, 4.1 billion pesos is allocated for our provincial governments for the construction of approximately 1,200 classrooms. The DepEd will also procure about 2,800 prefab classrooms with an estimated value of more than 5 billion pesos. In total, the first tranche will deliver 4,000 new classrooms nationwide, which we hope will directly improve the daily learning and teaching experience.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Wednesday, Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. remains firm in holding those responsible for alleged irregularities in flood control projects accountable. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the president has not lost interest in pursuing charges against individuals involved in the controversy. Castro said President Marcos Jr. has yet to finish reviewing the report of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI, noting that the document is lengthy. Castro also refuted claims that the palace has supposedly shifted its focus away from filing cases in connection with the flood control issue. Castro stressed that while President Marcos Jr. is focusing on improving the economy, he is not backing down on his commitment to seek accountability for the flood control mess. She also explained that President Marcos needs to redirect his attention amid the noise generated after he ordered a review of allegedly anomalous flood control projects and the possible misuse of funds.
Sa ngayon po ay hindi pa po tayo nabibigyan ng update kung natapos na pong mabasa dahil sa ating pagkakaalam ay medyo mahaba-haba po ang report ng nasabi ng ICI. So kapag ka po ako po ay nabigyan na po ng update, ibibigay ko po sa inyo kung ano po ang magiging mensahe ng Pangulo patungkol po dyan. On our part, on the part of the President, that's not true. Hindi po nawawalan ng interes ang Pangulo sa pagpapanagot kung sino man ang dapat na managot. Tututukan lamang po ng Pangulo ang ekonomiya dahil kailangan po ito. Dahil sa sobrang ingay po na nagaganap, dahil sa binuksan niya po ang issue sa paggamit ng maanumalyang flood control projects or paggamit ng pondo at pag-aabuso dito, ay talaga pong nagkaroon ng ingay at ina-expect naman po ng Pangulo yan. Dahil kung galit po ang mga Pilipino sa korupsyon, lalo pong mas galit ang ating Pangulo. At kailangan lang pong tutukan move forward. Ang sabi nga ng Pangulo, siya po ay tututok sa ekonomiya para naman po sa iba pa nating mga kababayan na hindi naman puro politika lang ang pinag-iisipan.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Wednesday dismissed rumors that Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has been diagnosed with colon cancer. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro slammed the claim about President Marcos Jr.'s health, describing it as a blatant lie and a mere distraction. Castro's statement came after former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque posted a photo of Marcos, insinuating that the president appeared to have a colostomy bag during a recent public engagement. Castro denied the claim, calling Roque a fake news peddler. She urged the public not to believe such claims.
Na nga po ang masama ay kasi mga rumors, mga chismis, walang katotohanan na nakakapanira sa gobyerno, nakakapanira sa Pangulo, na nakakaapekto sa ekonomiya. Kung manggagaling lamang po din kay Harry Roque na isang masasabi na natin isang fake news peddler, nakita naman po natin ang video, yung kabuuan kung saan itinaas pa po mismo ng Pangulo ang kanyang mga kamay habang siya'y kumakaway sa ating mga kababayan at kitang-kita po na ang sinasabing larawan o ipinakitang larawan ni Harry Roque ay pawang kasinungalingan lamang. Huwag na po tayo maniwala at nakikiusap po tayo. Huwag na po natin dalhin sa anumang usapan ang mga fake news peddlers katulad nila.
President Marcos Jr. earlier took a brief rest from public engagement and opted to hold private meetings after being diagnosed with diverticulitis, an inflammation of small pouches in the colon. The Philippine president has since resumed his normal schedule, attending public events.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday led the inauguration of the rehabilitated Mahayag Dam in Zamboanga del Sur, alongside the turnover of solar-powered pump irrigation projects across the Zamboanga Peninsula. The president said the upgraded Mahayag Dam now delivers efficient water diversion, stronger irrigation reliability, and improved agricultural productivity, while also enhancing flood control to safeguard homes and livelihoods. Located in the municipality of Mahayag, the dam serves as the main diversion structure of the Salug River irrigation system, the largest in the Zamboanga Peninsula. It was reconstructed after severe flooding damaged the facility, affecting residents in Mahayag, Molave, Ramon Magsaysay, and Sominot. More than 3,100 farmers and their families are expected to benefit from the restored dam, which regulates the Salug River's flow and supplies irrigation to nearby rice fields. In addition, President Marcos Jr. turned over 20 solar-powered pump irrigation projects to 635 farmers across the region. He said the SPIPs will boost local irrigation systems using clean, affordable energy, reducing dependence on diesel and electricity while cutting carbon emissions. Distribution and water management will be handled by Irrigators Association, while the National Irrigation Administration will maintain the solar panels and pump systems. The chief executive emphasized that these projects will not only ease costs for farmers, but also strengthen food security and sustain livelihoods in the Zamboanga Peninsula.
Kung matatandaan ninyo, nasira at gumuho ang dam nito dahil sa matinding pagbaha. Apektado ang marami nating kababayan sa 4 na munisipalidad ng Zamboanga del Sur, Mahayag, Molave, Ramon Magsaysay, and Suminot. Sa pamamagitan ng proyektong ito, inaasahan natin mas mapapabuti ang water diversion, irigasyon, at iba pang gawain pang-agrikultura ng rehiyon. Makakatulong din ito sa pagbawas ng baha at sa pangkalahatang seguridad ng mga tahanan at kabuhayan dito sa Zamboanga del Sur. Tinatayang higit 3,100 magsasaka at ang kanilang mga pamilya ang makikinabang dito sa ating proyekto na ito. Ibig sabihin, magiging tuloy-tuloy na ang supply ng tubig. Hindi lamang mapaparami ang inyong mga ani, mapapanatag din kayo na matutugunan ninyo ang araw-araw ninyong pangangailangan. Sa panahon naman ng tag-ulan, mas magiging handa at ligtas ang mga komunidad. Kasabay ng paglagay nitong dam na ito, nagbigay din tayo ng 20 solar-powered pump irrigation project or SPIP sa 600 at 35 magsasaka sa reyon. Palalakasin ang SPIPs ng lokal na irigasyon gamit ang alternatibong enerhiya na malinis at abot-kaya. Upang matiyak ang maayos na operasyon ng ating mga SPIP, pangangasiwaan ng mga Irrigators Association at pamamahagi at paglilinis ng tubig.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. on Friday led the groundbreaking of the Kalayaan Avenue and Bonifacio Global City stations of the Metro Manila Subway Project, marking another major step toward a faster, more reliable, and fully connected rail network across the capital. Speaking at the Uptown Parade in Taguig, the president said the event proves that a Metro Manila subway, once thought impossible, is now becoming reality. He emphasized the project is more than concrete and tunnels. It's about restoring dignity to daily travel and showing what the country can achieve through transformative infrastructure. The new segment will link Shaw Boulevard in Pasig to Lawton Avenue in Taguig, with the BGC stations expected to serve more than 200,000 passengers a day in their first year of operations. According to the president, the subway will mean workers arriving on time, students getting home earlier, and Filipinos reclaiming hours lost to traffic. Once the full 33.1-kilometer system is operational, travel from Valenzuela to BGC will drop from 90 minutes to just 29. Travel from Quezon City to the Manila Airport will be cut to 35 minutes. The subway will also connect seamlessly with major rail lines, including LRT-1, MRT-3, MRT-7, LRT-2, MRT-4, and the North-South Commuter Railway, strengthening links between Metro Manila and nearby provinces. President Marcos Jr. said this is the scale of transformation the government is building, bringing the country closer to a fully connected subway system that will redefine mobility in the nation's capital and reaffirm confidence in what Filipinos can achieve together.
Today, we proved to the world something we once thought would be impossible: a subway in Metro Manila. I join with you in our optimism and excitement as we gather here for the groundbreaking of the Kalayaan Avenue and Bonifacio Global City or BGC stations. This segment will link the Shaw Boulevard station, which we just came from and we inspected, and I'm happy to report that the progress is proceeding and the work is proceeding, and we are very much on schedule. In fact, we are from the original timetable. We have accelerated the process, and we are moving even more quickly than that. But this segment now will link Shaw Boulevard Station in Pasig to the Lawton Avenue Station in Taguig. Earlier today, we inspected Shaw Boulevard. The progress that we've witnessed there and in all of this project demonstrate that implementation is fully and actively underway. The station in BGC is projected to the stations, because there are three of them, four. The three stations in BGC are projected to serve no less than 200,000 passengers per day in its opening year. This means workers arriving on time, students getting home earlier, and our citizens regaining hours that we once lost to congestion. Once the entire 33-kilometer stretch of the Metro Manila subway system is fully operational, the travel time from Valenzuela to BGC will be reduced from 1.5 hours to just 29 minutes. This is the scale of transformation that we are building. And this brings us closer to a fully connected subway that will redefine mobility in our nation's capital. It also brings us closer towards restoring dignity to daily travel and reaffirming our confidence in what we can achieve as a nation.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS receiver on your Google Play or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Jerome Toledo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.